Alrighty, so I'm going to go ahead and use the flip through with your eyes closed kind of technique here again, and I landed on a 12 by 12 layout. So I'm trying to think of how I'm going to transfer this into a card because I'm thinking a like 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 card. So um, I do um, take some inspiration from this. I was really surprised at how it turned out because I was kind of lost when I saw that. I was like, well, I guess I'll just get started with the paper like usual. So I grabbed the paper, and I know that there was like the background is a dark blue, or not blue. It's I think that's like a Carolina blue, which is very vibrant. But it's darker compared to the white. So I figured, I'm using the Feels Like Home collection, and I wanted something that wasn't really dark like the charcoal color, but had a little bit of color to it. And this is I want to say tile. I want to say tile, like a vintage tile look. Um, and I thought it would work perfect because it gives a little bit of color because it does have a touch of blue to it. I don't know what color of blue that is either because it does not have, it's not, I don't know that it's actually, nope, it's actually not blue, it's the charcoal color. Wow. I thought it was kind of like a sapphire charcoal, like gray tone, but it is a gray tone, but it's definitely just charcoal. Um, but I thought that worked out nice. And then this gray color that I used on my last card, I thought would look nice as well. I could have went darker. I didn't really want to go white because the base piece is a like linen color. It's the linen in the charcoal, and the linen is not white. It is kind of like an off-white. It's a lighter version, I think, of off-white. Um, and so I wanted to go with something that was darker than white, but not the linen color because I didn't want it to exactly blend into the background either. So I went with the gray color. Now, honestly, I think this particular gray is just a random gray that I had in my stash. I could have picked Pebble or any of the new colors from Close to My Heart, but I already had this in the pack, and I didn't want to make things more difficult for myself, so I went ahead and used that. So what I was trying to show you, I did distress the edges of the gray piece, and that's just to kind of give it some dimension from the the background. And then what I decided to do was pick up on the 4 squares on the layout. So I went ahead and I'm using my scraps. This is one of the things that why I save all my scraps, because I would hate to cut up a 12 by 12 sheet just for these little pieces. So I'm doing little squares that are, I think it turned out to be 1.5 inches by 1.5 inches squares. And on a rectangle card, generally that, it would drive me nuts to have squares instead of rectangles, which I could have done rectangles if I really wanted to, but I was kind of trying to keep with the inspiration of the layout in the catalog. So I'm going for the squares, and I just tried to, mix and match and try to find a decent, what's the word that I'm looking for? A decent arrangement of color. I didn't want it, too much black and white. I didn't want it too stripy. I didn't want it too pink. I didn't want it too floral or too green, or I didn't want too much color. I wanted it to be as balanced as I could get it with what I had to work with. So the paper pack, Feels Like Home from Close to My Heart, is it's well balanced. It's got great patterns and whatnot and you can, I mean, with their, you know, their color palette that goes with it, it's awesome. I mean, you can get a lot accomplished with it in a short amount of time. So it takes a lot of the guesswork out. So that's kind of what I've decided on right there. I noticed that there's like 3 of them with lines, and I didn't want 3 of them with lines, but there wasn't really another pink without the lines, and I really liked that pink in particular. So there's stitching around the outside of these squares, and so I decided, you know, that's on the background, so I should probably pick up on that. There's a little stamp set here in let's see, the Feels Like Home scrapbooking stamp set, and it's little like speckle or splatters, and I decided, you know what, that would be really nice to have on the background. So I grabbed out one of my stamp sets. I can't remember which one it was. That one was mink, I think. Ooh, mink, I think. And I think this one, I don't know what this one is. Linen, maybe. I don't know. I forgot to put it up to the camera. But it's a very light version of gray, and it's a blue gray instead of a warm gray, or instead of a warm gray. So I liked that, and I just keep adding these on here, just pretty much trying to get them even, and so that they show from the edges of the squares. This isn't actually on the layout. However, I thought that it needed something to kind of ground the squares, because the squares were very square, and with the, you know, straight lines, it just felt like it needed something to soften the edges a little bit. And so I decided to use this stamp for that. I mean, I totally could have just done splatters, but, you know, I don't know. I wanted to use my new stamp. I think that's my stamp set. I think that's the only one that I've actually used on that whole stamp set so far. So, but at least, you know, I dipped into it. And I do love how this turned out as far as those, you know, worked out perfect. At first I wasn't going to do any of the stamping on the inside because it was mostly going to be covered up. But then I was like, yeah, but there's little tiny, you know, spots that you can notice that there's no spots, so if that made sense. So I'm going ahead and distressing the edges of these squares as well, and that's gonna just add more dimension to it. Obviously I didn't do the sewing yet, but that will be coming up. So if you are interested in the Feels Like Home collection, or even the Feels Like Home scrapbooking stamp set, there's also a card making stamp set that coordinate. I will leave a link below so you can go shopping. I'll actually leave a link to the things that I used in here as well. So I totally switched all of those around. They're kind of upside down now, so I'm not exactly sure. I don't remember what I'm doing here. Doing something. I think I'm trying to make sure that the top and the bottom are balanced. And now I'm gonna sew the border there, and you can kind of see how I did it a little wonky on the lines, and then I just trimmed and taped the edges or the ends of the thread. I'm gonna go ahead and throw some tape on here foam tape, and I love being able to use them in big strips like that. Taking the backs off takes so much less time. I was thinking earlier that, I could definitely do layouts this way too, do inspiration via random layout and from the catalogs and whatnot. And I might actually try that. So these are my fancy tags, and I'm trying to figure out if I want a tag on there or a border, because above the picture on the layout that's in the catalog, there's a yellow scalloped border, and I was thinking, I could add that in there or another border of some sort, and it just seemed like too much. Once I added the stitching, it really did what I needed it to do, and so I think it worked out pretty well that way. And I don't think I end up using those. I thought I would, and I was going to, try to make it work or make something work, but because, I'm not going to be adding pictures to this, so I was trying to figure out exactly what I would put on there. I know that I was going to make this into a thank you card, so that was something that I needed to have on it. Was thank you or hello or some type of, I don't know. I always have to have a greeting of some sort, I think. But so I first pull out hello, and I really like hello. And this one's from Close to My Heart as well. And then after that, then I was like, thanks is made out of the same exact font. So that's when I decided to go ahead and use that. I am not exactly sure what I'm doing. Alright, I'm sticking things down. My screen froze for a second there. So like, wait a minute here. I can't tell what's going on. So I do remember I pulled out the charcoal paper or cardstock from Close to My Heart, and I ordered 2 packs of it, so I should have plenty. So I do cut out, I think I did 5 of these, and then I went ahead and poked them out, got them out of the die, and just did it 4 more times. And I did skip through that so that you guys didn't have to watch all of that. And there's my little pile. And then I'm also going to glue each of those together to make kind of like a thicker or chipboard effect, which I'm not going to make you watch all of that either. So, but I will show you what I do, the first one, and then I skipped to the last one, so it doesn't take near as long as it actually did, which it didn't take that long, but it's long enough that, it saved me a few minutes in my video. And I totally lost my screw on the end of my die cutting machine, my Big Shot. I could not believe it. It's like, what? Speaking of which, I should probably have my husband tighten that, or I'll just go get a screwdriver and tighten it myself. But I was really surprised at that. So another thing that I did was I decided to use the cardstock and cut out some little stitched hearts, which are also from Close to My Heart. And I kind of wanted to do that in a couple of different colors, and the charcoal is perfect because it matched the word. And I'm going to go ahead, and this one is it's a darker pink color. Yeah, there we go. And it's got little plus signs or crosses or whatever you want to call them. And they're little, if you turned them on their side, they'd be X's. If you, kept them up and down, they'd be plus signs. And I cut one of those out and decided I would go ahead and have those, you know, there just in case I wanted to use them. I also have this little tag, and I was going to use it on my planner, which if you haven't, I didn't do a video of my planner this month, or this last month, because I'm trying to see how it works, because I've done it a little bit different this time, and maybe I should show you guys, but maybe I'll do one for March. But so far it's worked out okay. I kind of feel like I'm doubling the amount of, you know, attention, because I have two planners. So I feel like I'm doubling the attention that I have, but I do need space to kind of, like, if I have a plan or an idea, I can actually, you know, write out the whole plan and everything. And I don't, in my first planner, I don't have that. I just kind of have a, you know, a small spot for health, home, and work. And so it just, I don't know, I haven't figured out exactly how I want it to work yet, or if I like how it works. So I went ahead, anyways, I was going to use that tag on my planner, and I ended up not using it on my planner. So I was in the bottom of the bag, which I keep all my little pieces in. This is the complement. These are the complements that go with the Feels Like Home collection. And yes, I did use a lot of those on my planner. If you do want to see, I'm going to put up a photo of my planner up on either Instagram or my Facebook page. And both of those are at hellotarina. And I'll leave the link to those down below as well. So I decided I wanted to put, you know, a tag. It needs to have its little, not always, but most of the time it needs to have their little, like, you know, things coming out. So I found some embroidery floss, which I have tons of different colors. And then I was thinking about looking through the twine, and I didn't find any twine. And so I decided to go through my card making kit that I got, which is, it uses the Feels Like Home collection. Let me see if I can look at that real quick. It's called Love at First Sight card making, and I loved the stamp set, and that might be one of my next cards that I make, and that'll help show you guys how exactly, you know, to use that, or what you can do with it, because I usually do the first two cards exactly by their instructions, and then after that, then I just kind of, you know, make my own and my own versions. So I may do that since I have a couple more cards that I need to make. I'm really wanting to scrapbook, but I still have a couple of cards to make. So we'll see how that goes. I need to just kind of do a card making binge and just make a whole bunch of cards at once, and then I can have like enough for the whole month or enough for 2 months. That would be nice. Anyways, I got the silver thread out of the card making kit, and I went ahead and used it on this. And I love how it just added just a little pop of color. It turned out really nicely. So I'm using my liquid glass, which is one of my favorite adhesives, to adhere this down. And as you can see, I used some of those hearts, and I think they added just a nice little cluster down there. And the liquid glass dries very quickly, which is one of the things that I like about it. And on that tag, it has a heart. So that kind of, when I was first thinking about it, I was like, well, there's my 3, because I really like to do things in 3, 5s, and 7s. And of course, I add another heart in there. I don't remember. I don't remember which one I add, but I think I trimmed those too, if I remember right. So I went ahead and trimmed those down, and I'm trying to like take the strands of the silver thread and like take it apart so that it's a bit more, I want to say foofy, but foofy is not really a word. So I think you understand what I just want them to be a little more of an impact rather than just one, a couple of strings. So now I've pulled out my, I believe they are the Sugarplum glitter gems. And I added those, I added a couple of those, and then I went ahead and got my silver sequin mix from Close to My Heart. And oh my goodness, I have used these on not just the silver but the gold. I have used both of them on so many projects. Like there are so many sequins that come in these bags. But again, I sprinkle it from the bottom right to the top left. And then I just kind of, take what I want out and replace the, what is that called? I lost the word again. The, I want to say the texture, but it's not really the texture. Like some of them are like metallic, like high metallic. What is it? I have lost it. Some of them look like brushed nickel, and some of them look high gloss metal or metallic. So, yeah, I have totally lost the word for that. So that's just what we're gonna get, I guess. Anyway, so I'm just kind of placing them where I want them to be, seeing exactly, where I want them to be and what I want them to do and how I want it to look, because I don't want too much, but I don't want too little, and it just, I don't know. I do even think I used some clear ones on this one, or maybe one clear one. But I'm going ahead and use my quicker poker picker upper. I think that's what it's called. Anyways, I just recently learned that you can pull the back end out of it and it has a actual like poker piece that's like a point, and that works amazing. I was so excited when I found that, because before I was like, okay, so you can hold it down with the one end, and the one end looks like a flat head screwdriver, only it's it's a smaller one, but it looks like a flat head screwdriver. And I was just like, okay, well, you can't use the one end and the other. You still have to end up using a pair of tweezers or something. And I never thought to pull it out, but and I think I've had the thing for like 4 years, something like that. So it's like, I kind of feel dumb, but there aren't any instructions on there that actually say that you can pull it out. So I don't know. I read the instructions several times trying to figure out, there's got to be something more to it, and I could not figure it out. But yeah, I did. It took me 4 years, but so on the back of that cardstock, it's 2 different colors, or it's a lighter version of the charcoal. So all of our cardstocks are that way, so that's kind of awesome. So I just flipped one of my hearts over, and it gave me a 3rd tone. So I hope you guys enjoyed this. I'm obviously picking up all my sequins. Maybe you guys could give this a shot. Just flip through it with your eyes closed, land on something, and see what you can make of it. I hope you guys enjoyed this card, and here is the inspiration, and I will see you guys later. Thanks for watching.